Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, Life with Sweetie. I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, it's been a while since I uploaded my last YouTube video because you know what? Life happens. I have two toddlers and the youngest, which is two, literally just stopped breastfeeding like a month ago, 3 weeks ago or something like that. So he still has a little bit of separation anxiety. So I gotta sneak away. They want to be with mama like every ounce of the day. And I just want to get away. I love them, but I want to get away. So, today is just a great day to be here. Yeah, this morning I got up and I did a little bit of workout and I just had fun with it. I had my local radio station on and, I'm on my bike and I'm just doing it and, dancing and just having fun. And I'm like, wow, this it feels so good to be just jamming and, just letting loose. So yeah, I'm in a great mood. Okay, so today we're going to talk about racism, and cultural differences, cultural backgrounds, and things along that line, and story time and stuff like that. So I'm gonna start from my youngest memory of diversity, or different type of people, races and stuff like that. I want to say is maybe like in prep school, which is equivalent to elementary school here in the United States, but prep school is just private. It's like a, private Christian school. And, there were white girls there, one and two. I mean, not a lot, Chinese. One of my best friends in, well, come to think of it, it was not Chinese as much as more Asian, I want to say. But yeah, one of my good girlfriends, we almost had a similar name. And, she was of mixed descent. Like she was like either Asian or of Chinese and stuff like that. So, from a very age, I just knew that there were people who looked, I got to know people who looked, different than me. And it was never really an issue. It was never really a conversation in my household. My mom and dad never pulled me aside and said, hey, you're a little black girl. You got to look out for this. You got to look out for that. And I remember history lessons in my country never consisted of, racism or anything like that. I mean, we will learn about our own culture, like the national heroes and, Christopher Columbus and things like that. But I don't think, or I don't ever remember discussing race, or it just wasn't an issue. It was just never a topic of conversation. But instead in prep school, they just teach you to love everyone as you love yourselves. And, in my country, also Jamaica, there is like I want to say it's a motto. I don't know if it's a motto. It's more than a motto, but I forget what it is, where they say out of many, one people, meaning that there are many people, many types of people, but out of many, we're all still one. So that's just, how it was. Like there was no racism or we knew any of that, but there were different races, integrated in Jamaican. They was just like everybody else. So yeah, there was no difference. The only thing, was, in prep school, the little boys, they would just click more to the mixed culture or the mixed race or a different race than their own, so they'll get all the boys, and then when they reject them, then they'll come in, hey, how you doing, type of thing. And I'm like, oh, no. And then, we all girls would get together and we'll laugh and we'll talk. And so it was just never a division at all. Likewise with my high school, the high school that I went to, we had also mixed races at our high school. So I was just never used to, just black and black Jamaicans and stuff like that. It was just always, I'm telling you, always diversity. I mean, I'm lucky. I know not every Jamaican experiences like that. I was just, lucky to have had that experience, because I do know that even though I am from Jamaica, not everybody's from the hood. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the hood either, because a lot of talented people do come out of the hood, but that is just not my experience. I went to the best of schools and things like that. My dad worked in government, and I went to all private schools, and we weren't rich by any means at all, because most of my other friends, like, they had the house on the hill, honey. Like, they they really had the riches. My dad just had a little government job, and my mom, from the youngest memory, like, she was always home with me. She took me to school, picked me up, and things like that. But she used to travel. She traveled a lot. She traveled to, like, Panama and Venezuela and things like that. And then she would buy clothing, fashion and stuff like that. And then she would come back to Jamaica and she will sell it and stuff like that. So that's how she, made her income on the side. But for the most part, I remember her, being home with me and, teaching me and taking me to school, dropping me off and things like that. And I admire that. You know what I mean? I just like that. I'm just used to my dad being the breadwinner and the king of the, the little whatever we had going on there. But yeah, so that was it. But coming to America now, let's dive in a little bit. Now, before, like, I lived in America, I used to visit. I remember I used to visit this very same state that I'm in now when I was a child. I want to say maybe 8 or 9. I used to visit my uncle, my aunts and stuff. And I remember when I came here at first, in this very first state, I gotta stop saying but anyways, yeah, my uncle had like a 3-family home, and he rented the second floor. The second floor was rented, and I think the third floor is rented too at that point. But he lived on the second floor, and on the first floor, and that's where, like, when I came here on vacation, I would stay, and I would go to church with my aunt and things like that. And I remember there was a Spanish family, a Puerto Rican family living on the second floor that my uncle had rented the place to. I just remember there was like a lot of them, like a lot of, not a lot of little boys, a lot of little girls, a lot of young adults and, things of that nature. And I would go outside and I would play with the little girls, and, it was really, really fun. And I had my first kiss in this state that I'm living in now, at that time. I remember, like, whenever I would go in the hallway and thing, they had a little boy there too, around my age. And I remember when, the little boy used to say hi to me, smile with me, and, we'll give a little conversation here and there. And then out of nowhere, he just kissed me. And every time we'll see each other in the hallway, which wasn't often, I mean, we maybe kissed maybe like twice or 3 times or so. Like, we would kiss, and that's when I had my first tongue kiss. Yes, my first tongue kiss was lit with a little Puerto Rican boy. And I remember going back to Jamaica, and I was like, wow, is this what adulthood is like? Is this what it feels like to be kissed? Because I've never been kissed before. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is, exciting, the tingling feeling and all that stuff. I can remember that. But yeah, so fast forward a little bit, I did go to high school here, for a brief minute, but we're going to skip over that. So fast forward, when we came here to America to move here permanently, that was New York, okay? That was Brooklyn we first came to, and I am telling you, the cultural, dynamic in Brooklyn is amazing. There was, Guyanese, there was, obviously Jamaicans, there was Venezuelans. I don't know, the cultural background, I'm telling you, was just so intriguing to me. The different foods, you could go, you can get roti, you can go and it was just so amazing to me. and then you could just hop on the train, and then you could go to Manhattan, and you could see white people and stuff like that. You could shop, and that was the very first time I want to say I really realized that there's like a gap in the races and things like that, because again, back in my country there was no such thing. So my very first job I had was a home health aide job, and they would send us to like different elder people's home, and you will help them with basic needs and things like that. And I really enjoyed that job too. That job, no, I'm sorry, before let's rewind. No, wait, yeah, actually, yeah, let's do that first. So yeah, and it was great going to different homes, and a lot of these people, it's a different background. So one minute I would be in the hood. I'm talking about like east side. I think it was the east side, Manhattan, like the big buildings, and the buildings that, you can tell is obviously not so safe and things like that. And me, I'm just not used to that. But I found it intriguing. I was like, with my patient sitting down here, and we'll go outside for, some, outside time. And she's sitting there, and I'm like looking around. You see the girls doing the jump rope, the guys on the corner, yeah, man. And yeah, this, that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, wow. And, I'm just taking it all in, and, things like that. But at the end of the day, I was just there to do my job. But I just found it like very, intriguing. I found it fun, And then I would have I keep saying clients. I would have, patients in Upper Manhattan, where when you go into the building, honey, it's a security upon security. You got to sign your name. You got to show your ID. You got to write your time in, your time out. And then when you go upstairs, it's like you're up on the penthouse. And I'm here with the client, I keep saying client. I'm here with the patient and their little white poodle, and darling, could you just get this for me? Or could you do it? I'm like, oh, yes, ma'am. Going to do this. And their family members would visit, and, the housekeepers would come up and do the house cleaning, and what do you want for dinner? And she will call downstairs, and it's brought up. And it wasn't a hotel though. They lived there, and yeah, their family members would come over, and these were white people, and we all would have dinner, and things like that. I would sit beside her and help her eat. And I was just literally, honestly, a part of the family. Even though it was a work relationship, I just never felt outcast. I've never felt an ounce of racism until like later on in my life in the state that I'm in, to believe it or not. But I've never felt it at all in New York, and there were other patients where, like I said, it's just in the hood, or in Queens, or, just different places all over the borough and things like that. And I remember I was looking after this young man, this, older man, and it was the overnight at that time. And it was a Haitian guy who used to come and relieve me. Like, when you do the overnight, they have to come in the morning, and someone has to be there 24/7. So they'll come and stay. Another home health aide will come and stay. And then that's when you get relieved. You get to go home. And, if they go into the hospital or something, then they may require two of you. So I remember like this Haitian man, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Haitian. Yeah, that's how we say, but obviously no disrespect or anything. This Haitian man, and he would tell me a lot of great things about his culture, when he came to like relieve me and I'm supposed to go home. I'm like, oh yeah, like so intrigued about their culture. And, he'll tell me like a lot of things about, where he's from. And I'm like, oh wow, I want to go there one day, and, things like that. And so, yeah, that was that part of my life. And then I decided to go to medical assistant school. Now, this medical assistant school, is one stop away from Wall Street. This was the Fulton Street stop in Manhattan. And if those of you know, you know, okay? So again, I experienced diversity there. And when I went there, I remember this girl, Christina. She was Hispanic. She was Puerto Rican too. And we didn't have a lot of money and stuff like that. Lunch money and stuff, I didn't really have, and, coming to a new country and stuff like that. And I remember she used to cook food. She used to bring food from her home, and likewise myself. And then we would just sit there in the lunchroom and we would switch foods, or we would share foods. So we were having, like rice and beans, and, I would let her have some of my rice and peas, which essentially is the same rice and beans, but just, prepared a different way, so, and that was just fun to me. And then there was this other woman. She was older than us. Her name was Omu. And she was also from Haiti, and there was also an American lady, African American. And I don't know, I forgot her name. She was older too. And she had kids. So she taught me a lot. I had a lot of acne breakouts. They would tell me, oh, do this or do that. They were like my mentor. And it was so much fun. And then you would have, another young lady that I would hang out with sometimes. Sometimes we will, when we go out to eat, we will go up in Upper Manhattan. Or I also remember one time we went out to eat, and we went out to eat on this pier, and look over, there was like shooting a movie, and it was one of those big stars, and it was just lovely. It was just amazing. But again, that story just, is just pointing out the diversity, of the situation. So after, after I graduated that school. When you graduate, they have a Dress for Success, that came in, and, I would pick out this shoes from Nine West, or, I would look at the suit and I was like, oh yeah, I want that one. You could tell that one is the name brand. And I was exposed to high fashion, from my time at the home health aide job, working in Upper Manhattan. And, back to that story a little bit, like whenever I was with that particular lady, and she would get clothing from, different designer stores, and then her butler would bring the clothes up. And, that's how I got to learn fashion, and, she had Dolce & Gabbana and all this stuff. And she'd be like, oh, hey, I got this for you. I think that this will look good on you. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And, so again, not an ounce of racism, but anyways, but that's how I got to new fashion. No other else way. Okay. So yeah, so Dress for Success would come in, and have us pick our pieces, and I would just go for the best pieces because I just knew what the best pieces was. So I went on a internship. So they gave me an internship in the building that the school was located in, and I would never forget this internship. It was so great. It was called Medical Associates of Wall Street. So, when you hear Wall Street, the type of patients they had. They also had construction workers who would come in and do their drug tests. And there's some, I forgot the name of it, but they did, we did, pulmonary, where they will come in and blow in a machine that'll measure their air to tell, if they're working on dusty buildings, how it's affecting their health. And the boss was Helena. I will never forget Helena. And Helena may sound Spanish, but no. She was Russian. And she was, I'm telling you, tough. that they were all afraid of her. And there was another black girl that was there who worked there as her permanent job, but she was, really light skinned black. I want to say maybe she's mixed with black and white or something like that, but I was the only just sister, So at first it was, a little bit intimidating and stuff, but after a while, just being there, it was just so fun, so great. I learned a lot. The Helena who everybody, who was used to was just so afraid of. Like, she was like, oh, hey, such and such. And I was like, oh, hi, how are you? And she would bring in, meals and dishes that, she makes in her country and, different breads and stuff like that. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, this is nice. And she's like, yeah. And she started teaching me stuff and teaching me Russian. And, it was just, again, so intriguing to me. So I've just met so many different diverse cultures and just countries and people from different countries. And I love that, so long story short, I was hoping they would hire me. I was hoping and praying like that would be my job. I loved it so much. I loved all the doctors we worked for. The doctors, they were all white, but they were just down to earth and they were just cool. I, again, never, felt an ounce of racism of any sort or, anything like that. And you would wear your regular clothes too. That particular job. So, I dressed up the moment I got any little money or I will go to the discount and get a nice little boot and a nice little skirt and a shirt. And then we'll just put lab coat over our, regular day wear. And forgive me if my neighbor is outside using his snowblower. Yes, we have, a lot out there. And when I'm done, I got to go get the digging. I got work to do outside too. So, yeah. That was that. But they didn't hire me. I think I figured out why. Because after a while, even though me and Helena seemed, okay. I mean, she's the boss. We weren't friends by any means, but I got her to a level where none of them could do. And, and I noticed that she started being cold against me. And I was like, I don't understand. But I think I figured it out. Because I remember when a group of construction workers just came in and flooded the place. And we were so busy, drug screen after drug screen after drug screen and all of that. And there was a cute guy. He was black and we didn't get a lot of black patients. He was black. And, the other black girl or mixed girl, I'm going to say black, came over to me and she was like, oh, he is eyeing you. He looks like he likes you and all that. I'm like, oh, yeah, he is cute. I found him so attractive and stuff like that. So, he when I was doing his drug test personally and stuff, he's like, you're so cute. And, let me give you my number and blah, blah, blah and stuff like that. So I did call, I did call him and, we had a couple conversations. I think we met up one time and things like that. And then, when I went back to work, when we're on our lunch break and stuff like that, I would tell the black girl like, oh yeah, I saw him and we had a date and, things like that and, whatever. So I honestly believe that the reason why Helena was giving me that cold shoulder is because that other black girl went and probably told her, don't hire her because she is consulting with the patients, honey. And, I just knew it. I felt it in my soul and I could tell the shift in the atmosphere literally immediately, maybe like a day or two after I told this, this other black girl like myself, I just, confided in her because we, the two sisters, she was the one who said, oh, he like, being a youngin', but not, I know better now, child. So yeah, so that was that. So anyways, they didn't keep me. I was like, oh, fine. It was a bummer because I loved the area. I loved everything about, I just loved everything about that part of Manhattan. So, I called my school that I, graduated from and I'm like, you guys do job placement, I really need a job. And, they're like, we'll get back to you. And, I sent off a few resumes to different places and things of that nature. Nobody hired me. You need experience. I submitted it into a plastic surgeon office. Oh, you need experience. I submitted it to cardio. Oh, you need experience. And I'm like, how am I going to get the experience if you don't hire me? It's just one of the darndest things that happens when you're looking for a job. How the hell you expect people to get experience if you're not going to hire them? How? So anyways, my school had called me and, hooked me up with a job. I went on the interview and it was in Brooklyn. Now, it was a side of Brooklyn that I knew about, and, I went to, like, Coney Island is in that area, but I've never really, went into that area. And, I loved it, and she hired me. And that nurse, too, was, tough. What was her name? Emily was tough, and it was an internal medicine. It was all females. The doctor was female, and I was the only black girl. Yet again, does that sound familiar? I was the only black girl there, But again, I felt no ounce of racism. The lady in the front who did scheduling appointments and stuff, the secretary, I forgot her name was, but she was phenomenal too. She was a great woman, a great person. Any diets, we will talk about it. She was Italian. The doctor was Portuguese. Emily, which was the nurse and the boss, she's tough too. She was Italian. And there was someone else there who worked with the secretary. There was two secretaries in the front, and she was white also, but I don't know if she was Italian or what she was. I don't, but she was white, like more white than the Italians and stuff like that. So yeah, and I had a great time. I had a great time. Like, I would bring my Jamaican food again for lunch. And when I go in the kitchen, they had a little kitchen in the back, and they would order every day, and they were like, oh, I'm so excited for you to try this food. And I'm like, this bread is good. Oh, this eggplant. I was like, what's this? They're like, eggplant parmesan. I'm like, I like this. And, that's just how we just work together as a team. It was just, again, no type of racism or, anything like that. And yeah, they would ask me about that time. Obviously I had my eldest. I had my eldest at 16. So, I had her, in daycare and stuff like that. And it was just, I just remember it being great. And on Wednesdays, yeah, another thing I'm forgetting, on Wednesdays, like, a cardiologist used to come in. He rented that space. So he will come in with his own set of patients, and, all white. He was white too. And on Wednesdays, what we didn't schedule our patients that much on Wednesdays, maybe one or two or three, because we didn't want the crowd, because he would obviously come with his own patients. So Wednesdays was a slow day for us. So, whenever it's slow, I would, be at my desk, and, I had my own little desk and everything, and, I'll hold on to files, look into the patient's records and things like that, write, whatever the doctor would tell me to write, or, even prescriptions, do prescriptions. Yeah, I had a lot on my plate as a medical assistant, and I'm happy because I learned a lot. I love learning. So, and that brings me to, the cardiologist. I would help him out, don't have anything doing. And he would, say, yeah, I know you're a medical assistant and you're just trained to do the EKGs, but I want to teach you how to read the EKGs. So he would tell me about the different conditions of the heart. And oh my gosh, I think my neighbor is doing my driveway. Oh, hold on. Oh, he's so amazing. Hold on, I'll be right back. I will cut it off. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Oh, she can't hear me. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, I want to say thank you. So amazing. Thank you. I'm not doing any edits in this video, okay? I was yelling, thank you, thank you, thank you. But he wasn't hearing because you know how the snow blower is loud. But I appreciate it. That saved me time, I know he must be saying, what the hell? She really not here. Thank you. But I appreciate it. So where was I? Yeah, so yeah, the cardiologist would teach me, things, different conditions of the heart and all that, and tell me what to look for more in depth in a EKG. Okay, I hope I don't have to stop this video and do it again. I hope. Whatever imperfection, you're going to deal with it, okay? So, yeah. And I remember one time, like, I had this patient and we had this patient and I did an EKG. They came in complaining of, other symptoms that is not necessarily related to heart, and I did an EKG on him and I took it to Dr. Gabriel. Usually you would just put it in the chart and you put it up in the chart holder and whatever she gets a chance, because she's just so amazing and so overloaded, and she does rounds at the hospital after, and she has a son, and I'm telling you, talk about an amazing doctor. But she said, you know what, whenever you do this EKG, bring this EKG to me. And we all fared the Dr. Gabriel, we all fared knocking on her door. And it's not that she's mean in any way. She is just a sweet, I'm telling you, she's just so humble and so caring and so everything. She's just a great human being. So yeah, go to knocking. Dr. Gabriel. And she's like, oh, hi, Terry. And I was like, oh, you told me to give this to you. And she's like, oh, yeah. Oh, my God, I forgot. And she looked at the EKG and, she said, oh, yeah, I think he looks fine. Maybe follow up within, a week or so, or, if symptoms persist, or, whatever instructions she gave me to give to him. And, I, took him out of the room and, preparing the room, clean down, do what medical assistants do. And I went and I sat at my desk, and I don't know, there was just something nudging at me with this patient. It's just, just literally just nudging, just like, something is wrong. So I went and I took his file out again, and I went and I took his file. That was my kids. I'm trying to hurry up. Yeah, I looked at his file. What happened? it's actually still going. I was just about to cut the video off because I heard like something happened to my son. I'm so sorry, guys. And I'm still looking. I should be looking this way. I'm so sorry. I thought I turned it off and I'm about to get up, but I'm listening to hear more crying, because then I'm like, oh Lord, I'm not gonna redo this. I might have to do a part 1 and 2. But it sounds like my middle child, my 11-year-old, may have him under control. He would be hollering if something went crazy. Okay, so we're all good. We're all good. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. What was I saying? Yeah. So, yeah, something was just nudging me about the EKG. So I started going through the files and his symptoms and stuff like that. And what I started doing was to compare his EKG, to his prior EKGs, just comparing. Now, the doctor did that now, but I just went back and, was just looking at every little notes and things like that. And I was like, I forgot the condition or whatever it was. I was like, I don't know. This sounds like something that, the cardiologist was telling me, like, if it's this or if it's that, or you see the slightest, like when you're reading the EKG, it's supposed to have a pattern of, and then if it's a little, it's okay, because sometimes they do move, or sometimes the heart does do that. But he was like, if you see the slightest off, I forgot, it's just so long ago. He's like, pay attention to that. That could be an indication of this or indication of that. And I was like, I don't know. I want to go knock at her door again. Oh, I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to knock at her door again. I was like, Dr. Gabriel. And she's like, yes, so-and-so. And I'm like, that patient, so-and-so, I don't know. I just have this odd feeling. And I was like, because I remember when the cardiologist was, teaching me things that I ain't a doctor, I shouldn't have been knowing. He said this and he said that. And then when I look at this and I compare it to that, and then he's saying that he's feeling this type of way and that type of way. And she's like, I'm telling you, she's so humble, mild, and meek. And any patients that she has lost, oh my God, she takes it to heart. Like, you could tell her demeanor and everything. You could tell she's grieving. She is such a phenomenal person. So she wasn't the type where, oh, stay in your lane, I don't think you know what you're talking about. She was never that type of soul. So, she said, you know what? Just out of an abundance of concern, I'm going to listen to you, and we're going to give them a call and tell them that I think that they should go to the emergency room right away at so-and-so. And, later on when I'm at the hospital doing my rounds and things like that, I will check on so-and-so and we'll take it from there and follow up if needed. And, so we pull, I looked at the file again, gave it to, the girls out in the front, and, they called and whatever. And that was it. So, long story short, I went home, went back to my hood, went back to Brooklyn. Well, we were still in Brooklyn, but the different side of Brooklyn that's a little bit more urban and cultural, So I went back home, and the next morning went to work, and, they called me in the back room, which is where we had lunch and stuff. And they're like, so-and-so, I don't want to even say my name because, there's crazy people out there. They're like, what you did was phenomenal. You saved that patient's life. That patient was going through, I don't know if it was either a mini heart attack or a stroke that was just so undetectable. But whatever that was there, and not just God opened my eyes to see it. She's like, you say, if he had been going about his day for another day or two, we would have lost this patient. She said, for that, I am so grateful and I'm so thankful to you. And I felt so good. I literally was like, I went home and I got my music blasting. And I'm like, I saved a life. I saved a life. I just remember being so happy. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was it. Again, this story is just to tell you that not everybody's racist. Not everybody don't means you well. You know, sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to get to know other people. And sometimes it's your own race that be trying to put you down and stop you in life, which I have personally experienced a lot of that, let me tell you. But the story goes on. So, yeah, so during that time working there, I met this guy. Okay, he was African American. He was, a little, he was like medium. He wasn't terrible overweight, but he was, medium. And, he was just not the type of guy that I would have dated, because most of the guys I have dated, including my eldest, father, they're like super skinny, like sticks and stuff like, oh, just super skinny. So I just had a tendency to lead more towards that. So he's like the first, bigger guy that I've spoken to, even though I've always been on the voluptuous side, though the skinnier guys would be the one who would always approach me and things like that. And that's just what I was attracted to at that age and at that time. So he was completely different. I think he was in a car or something, and I don't know how we got to talking. I think he must have said something slick to me out the window or something of to that nature. And it was funny, but I remember being, ha ha ha, that's not funny. One of those corny lines, I forgot particularly what it was, but whatever it was, it got me smiling, but at the same time, like, yeah. So I remember my reaction was saying, yeah, that's not funny, but ha ha. And he was like, but, and and we developed a conversation, and we exchanged numbers, and we started dating and things like that. We started going out and, all of that jazz and stuff. And, I met I've gone to his house, and I have met his family. And one of the things that he shared with me was that his sister was on drugs. His sister was a crack addict. And I remember he used to say to me that, I would go and I would get her drugs for her. And I'm like, why in the world would you do that? And he was like, I just feel like if I don't get it for her, she's going to go get it herself, and she's going to get into problem of owing people, and they're going to kill her in the streets. So I rather feed her habit. I'll go get it to make sure she's safe. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm like, I just wouldn't give it to her. I wouldn't. And he confided that in me. And he was from the streets. He was like, the type of guy, you like that bad boy, and but I when I look at him, I didn't really see that. He was just so loving and caring, and he would just tell me, what he's going through, and I would tell him what I'm going through or what I've been through, when I was younger, and we just had that connection. You know what I'm saying? We just had that. So I remember one time we was at his house though, and the first time being cultural, the first time I had chicken and dumplings, the American way, the African American, and believe it or not, the same sister cooked it. I know they didn't do anything to the food. I was just there. We were all hanging out watching movies, and she was actually a pretty cool woman, but I just felt so bad for her. But obviously I wouldn't say anything to her, or, that's his family, his sister. We're not like that. We had a few dates, we hang out and we enjoy each other's company, but not marriage type thing. Or even then, that wouldn't have been my place. It'll be the family's place to try to do everything in their power to get her help. But anyways, yeah, the chicken and dumplings was great. We had fun, da da da. And when it was time for me to go back to the guy's room and everything, and he was like, hold on, and there was a commotion out there, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so scared now. I'm so scared. What's going on? And then he would come back and he was like, you see what I'm telling you? You see what I'm telling you? Like, she want me to go out to get her drugs. And I was like, wasn't we just all in the living room having fun and laughing? And he's like, but this is what I be telling you. Now, if I allow her to go outside at this time of night, and they was at it, and she was coming up to the room and she was like, yeah, and they was like back and forth. And he's like, I'm telling you. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I find myself into? I was so scared. But I wasn't scared of him. I wasn't scared of her. I was just scared of the situation of it all. I didn't believe he would hurt me, and he never hurt me. He was an amazing person, even though he was hood. He was an amazing person. So, I mean, but with some faults. We're gonna get to that. But he was an amazing person to me. To me, he's not the greatest human being, but he, was the greatest person to me. But yeah, so we got over that, and I remember my best friend, which you probably gonna be watching this too now. You remember, he would call me and he was like, get dressed, make it pretty, put this on, put that on. I'm coming to scoop you up. I'm like, okay, and I'll, get dressed. And he used to come in like one day, it's a Cadillac. That's all I can remember because I didn't know cars at the time. And Cadillac truck, a white one. Then another time it's a black one. Then another time it's some exotic car or something. Now knowing maybe a little bit of car, stuff, I would say maybe a BMW or maybe compared to like a Maserati or something, foreign like type of a look like that. Or to, oh my gosh, what's the name of that other car? But the general, high class rolling car. And every day it used to be, every time he would come to pick me up, and my best friend, this, she would laugh and she was like, if your neighbors was watching, they would think you was because they would think like different men are coming to pick you up each time when it's the same man, but it's in different cars. Like, where did he get these cars from? I was like, I don't know. I do know that he works at a detailing business. But then me and her was sitting there and was like, but usually when you drop off your car, it's not overnight, so if they're detailing the car, how does he have it for us to go out? How does he? And we will ponder. So, I was like, I gotta ask. I didn't tell my best friend. I swear to you, you didn't even know this because I couldn't tell anybody, So one night, again, I went over his house and, I'm staying over till, the next day. I didn't have work. I didn't have work on the weekend. So I'm guessing it was a weekend. So, I went to stay. I don't remember where. The funniest thing is sometimes I remember my eldest being there, but then another time I don't remember my eldest being there. My guess is my eldest used to come up to, to my mom and dad's in this state that I'm in now. Sometimes, they had her for a while because I had to work. So that could be, why there's a little bit of lapse in memory there. But, my eldest was never anywhere near or around this person at this time. So yeah, so one day, after staying over and, doing what grown folks do, and I'm just laying there in bed and I'm trying to be pretty, and I'm like, I have to ask you a question. And he's like, yeah, what up? What up? And I'm like, why is it that whenever you pick me up, where do you get these different cars from? I've just been thinking about it, and then when you tell me, you supply, drugs to your sister, like, I'm pretty sure you're not just going up to random guys in the corner who you think or drug dealers now and telling them, oh, let me buy this, or it gotta be, where do you know these people? Like, where? I mean, I know you sound like all gangsta and stuff, but and you tell me your life with your family, but what's really going on here? Like, I want to know. I have the right to know. And he's like, well, maybe I was going to tell you this, and it's really, I was just waiting for the correct time to tell you, but now that you bring it up, it's best. Oh yeah, it's a weight off my shoulder. And I'm like, what? And he was like, I went to prison for 8 years. I'm like, what? He's like, yep. I did time in prison 8 years. And I'm like, why? What did you do? And he's like, for drugs. Like, we was moving heavy weights, and, I shouldn't be out today. I shouldn't be out. I should be, life in prison, or, he said something crazy, maybe like 20 years or something like that. It should be more than the 8 years. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I can't get into details, but just know it's drug related. I ain't killed nobody nor nothing like that. But, people who I know, And I'm like, he's like, I had to do it because he had a daughter too, that didn't live with him, lived with the mom, but, I would know of the daughter. And it's like, such and such isn't my real name. And, I have 2 socials, and he would show me all the records, and his record, his 2 different social, his 2 different name, and all that stuff. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the only reason why I'm out now is because I'm rolling over on the bigger dogs, And I was like, what in the world? What did I get myself? I was just so like, am I in a dream right now? This person who I've been sleeping with, I shouldn't have been. That's what I get. But I'm just saying, young and dumb. Who I was sleeping with, having deep conversation. And you never ever think to tell me this is what you did. And I was like, oh Lord, I'm in waist. You know that movie Waist Deep? I'm in waist deep now. I'm just trying to make light of the situation. So he's like, yeah, and the only reason why I'm out now, is because I'm bringing the bigger dogs down, and they gave me, if I do this, I don't got to go back to prison, and I'm working with the feds now, and blah blah blah. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, and just don't leave me. I'll tell you more, and whatever. And he went to drop me off. And like the whole day this was on my mind. I was like, is he really serious, or is he really making this up? And I'm like, but I seen the state of this, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the 2 socials, the 2. He grabbed a big old box of files and everything. You could see where he was released from prison, and he's showing me these these paper verifications, and I'm here questioning myself. Is it really real? Is this what my life? But yeah, so I still continued to talk to him. And then one day he was like, they want to meet you. I'm like, they want to meet me? He's like, yeah, they want to meet you. So I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, part of the program is that, I can't get into trouble. I got to keep my nose clean. And, I have to give them who I'm around, and they know your information and things like that. And, they want to meet you because, I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but I told them that you're a girl that I love, and, there's no way, I cannot, you're around me all the time. Eventually, you're going to know. So I'm like, okay. So, one day, he came and picked me up from the house. Yeah, I'm telling you, young and dumb. Picked me up from the house, and we went to a spot in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, and he's like, just sit in the car real quick. I'm about to meet up with this. I'm about to meet real quick. We were already at the spot. I forgot who he said he was gonna meet, but he didn't tell me who we were meeting. He used some type of, slang or whatever. I'm about to holler. No, I'm about to holler real quick at these folks. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when, I see the car, and I was like, that car, I'm thinking, this is another deep tinted type, street looking, top of the line, street / high class stuff. So I don't know. It was just deep, it just looked like deep. So I'm like, oh Lord. And he went over to the car, and I'm like, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. I wonder if this is a drug deal going down, and I'm going to die, and I'm not supposed to be here. Oh Lord, what am I doing? What am I doing? Dear Heavenly Father, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And, some guys got out the car. And there was guys in suits. There was some white men pulled out of the car, like upper class, shaved, looking like, a piece of white snack, looking just so proper and I'm like, what? And they're like, hey, I'm so-and-so, FBI, federal agent, this, that. I know such and such, and he told me he told you. And, I'd like to say, we think you're a good influence on him since you've been around him. I can tell he's, being different, moving different, and we like that. And so and so and so. And we have a little bit of info. We know where you work and so and so. So, we're going to have communications with you also. And, you're social and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh Lord. And the whole time I'm there like, is this really happening? Yes, it is. Yes, it is happening. So we stayed together for maybe a few more months, and until one time, he picked me up from work, and something happened at work. I forgot what it is, but nothing is perfect, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't believe this patient, or, whatever, or I didn't do this right, or, Emily always, double checks my stuff or whatever. It wasn't anything over the top. It wasn't nothing racial. It wasn't none of that, but just regular person to person, like, and he was like, how much money they be having in there? And I'm like, I don't know. We collect co-pays and stuff. Like, he's like, I got the hookup. Like, what you got to do is I'll send my homeboys in there all masked up, everything, I guarantee you'll be safe. They'll just come in and we'll just rob it. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, no way. There's absolutely no way. I'm the number one. I'm the only black girl here, and if you think that a bunch of black guys is going to come up in here and rob this little honest, loving, caring doctor office who's doing great in our society, if you think they're gonna come up in here and rob her and they not tie it back to my black ass, no, ass is not a bad word. I do say black. I do say ass, okay? They tie it back to my black butt. Let's say butt. What you think is gonna happen? No, I have a whole life ahead of me. I have a child. Like, hell no. So from that, I knew real quick, And then on top of that, I had some decisions to make because, being working and things like that. And my eldest, whether coming up here to my family or staying with family there or staying with my best friend or, like my eldest was just, it just wasn't, I couldn't do it on my own. It was just not stable enough for me to do it on my own. I needed more family support. I needed my mom and daddy. Okay. So I decided to move to the state that I'm currently in right now. And I'm I'm almost an hour. I'm going to end the video right here, but there is so much more to tell. There is so much more to tell. But real quick before I go, I didn't end the relationship. When I moved here, I just moved away. And he couldn't leave the state. He was to stay in New York. They had was to go and get special permission. I don't know if it was from the job, from the higher, the judge or the higher up of the Bureau of Investigations. I don't know how they went about doing that, but they cleared him, and he would come up here and he would visit with me. Sometimes I didn't have a car yet, so he would come here and he would take me to my work and things like that, and stuff like that. But yeah, they had was to call me and give me like a special number, like, hey, this is so and so from the FBI, and what's your code number? And I'm like, oh yeah, my name is Terry, my name is and my birthday is and my ID number is and they're like, okay, well, yeah, so and so got the clearance. We know he's in good hands. We know he's with you, and blah blah blah. And yeah, that was a whole ordeal. But eventually, the relationship, fizzled off. I don't know what became of that whole situation after, but it fizzled off. But yes. So with that being said, not every white person is racist, people. Not every black person just because they're your same color is for you. You know, not every Spanish or Hispanic is the same. You know, just love everyone. I want to challenge you guys. Go outside of your circle. Not that if you're black, you're definitely going to go out there like, I'm looking for a white person to be my friend, or vice versa, because then that'll still be wanting to know people based on their color and still classified as you being a colorist or whatever, But I just want to challenge you, get to know some different cultures, get to know some different people. It is okay to be in a Family Dollar t-shirt, and then you maybe stepping up a notch and you're in a Macy's nice cute little shorts or skirt, and then you decide to put on a fancy Manolo or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that. And that transferring or in reference of different cultures, it's the same thing. There's nothing wrong with mixing it up. There's absolutely nothing wrong, because I've never experienced racism until I came to the state that I'm in now. And I'm not saying that every white person is racist, because there are a few, white people who I've gotten to know through my eldest, because most of her friends are white. Most of my eldest friends are white. And, when my eldest talked to me and, express that, I just wish I would meet, also like diverse, a black person or a black friend. But every time I go around a black person, of my same culture, or background, they'll be the one who's trying to stop me in certain type of ways, or they'll, make remarks, or it's just always a fight amongst ourselves. And I get it. I get exactly where she's coming from, because I have been there and stuff like that. And right now with her, with the group of friends that my eldest do have, she can go sleep over their home or do this. And I know that, the family, and, she's, is just well accepted, and there's love there, and, just there's just no issues. So I don't know. We need to stop this divide, and, different cultures too. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into what happened since I got to the state that I'm in. It is a great state, but each and every state got some issues. And, I find it very, very hard to, sometimes relate even to my own kind in this state, whereas, in the past, it wouldn't have been an issue. But anyways, it's been over an hour. I never thought I would talk for over an hour. I never thought my babies would be quiet for over an hour. They're not asleep unless they're asleep now, because usually it'll be mommy, mommy, mommy. And yeah, this break is wonderful, I may say. But thank you for watching. Bye. Oh, I was about to say, is that why it didn't stop?